Imagine stepping onto an aircraft in the late 1950s that moves nearly twice as fast as anything you'd ever flown before. There's no familiar growl of piston engines, no rhythmic chug you could anchor yourself to, just a thin metallic howl and a sense that the world outside is sliding away faster than your body can register. People didn't board this plane feeling thrilled. Many boarded it nervous, even shaken. Some passengers reportedly gripped their armrests, white-knuckled for the entire climb, certain that something moving this fast simply couldn't be natural. This is how the Boeing 707 entered the world, and why, for a brief moment, it genuinely unnerved the people who flew on it. Rewind to the early 1950s. Air travel still belonged entirely to propeller giants. Aircraft like the Lockheed Constellation and the Douglas DC-7 ruled the skies. They were graceful, even glamorous, but they were also loud, vibration-heavy, and clearly running out of room to improve. Engineers had pushed piston engines about as far as they could go. Adding more horsepower meant adding more weight, more fuel burn, more mechanical complexity, without meaningfully more speed. The industry had hit a ceiling, and everyone in it could feel it. Across the Atlantic, jet engines were already proving themselves in military aircraft, but commercial aviation hadn't dared make the leap. Jets were associated with fighter planes and bombers, fast, loud, and built for war, not for families heading on vacation. So Boeing decided to throw caution aside. The company poured roughly $16 million, a staggering figure for the era, into a single experimental aircraft, the Model 367-80, nicknamed the Dash 80. There was no buyer lined up, no guarantee the flying public would ever climb aboard a jet willingly. This wasn't just an engineering project, it was Boeing, betting its entire future on a technology nobody had asked for yet. If the public rejected commercial jets the way they'd rejected other untested innovations, the company risked collapsing under the weight of its own ambition. Then, in the fall of 1955, Pan Am's chief, Juan Trippe, blindsided the entire aviation world by placing orders for 20 707s and 25 Douglas DC-8s in a single move, instantly signaling that propeller planes were finished. But before any airline truly trusted this new aircraft, Boeing needed to erase the public's fear of it. So pilot Tex Johnston did something almost reckless. With airline executives watching from the ground near Lake Washington, he rolled the Dash 80 completely upside down and back again. A full barrel roll, performed without clearance, in a prototype meant to carry paying passengers one day. Boeing's own president reportedly summoned Johnston afterward, furious. Johnston's now famous response was that the maneuver was perfectly safe, that the aircraft was never even close to its structural limits during the roll. And here's the unsettling part. It worked. The stunt proved the airframe could endure stresses no ordinary flight would ever come close to. But think about what that says about this new era of flight. The only way to convince people a jet was trustworthy was to do something that, to any onlooker, looked like it shouldn't have been survivable at all. When the finished 707-120 finally entered service, it carried changes Pan Am had specifically requested: a broader cabin built for 6 seats across each row, along with engineering breakthroughs like engines slung beneath swept-back wings instead of buried in them. The payoff was staggering: a cruising speed near 575 miles per hour, dwarfing the DC-7C's roughly 350. That's not a small bump. It's a leap of well over 50% in raw velocity, achieved almost overnight, with no gradual transition period for passengers to adjust. But here's the eerie part. Passengers who were used to feeling every gust and dip in a propeller plane suddenly experienced something almost too smooth. The plane moved too fast for the eye to track the ground, too quietly for the body to register real motion. Your instincts had nothing to grab onto. Some early flyers described a strange, almost dreamlike sensation, a sense of motion happening to them rather than something they were participating in. What few people realize is that the ground itself wasn't prepared for this aircraft. Runways had to be extended by thousands of feet, fuel infrastructure rebuilt to handle jet fuel instead of aviation gasoline, hangars enlarged to fit the 707's far greater size, entire airports scrambled to retrofit themselves almost as quickly as the jets started arriving. Picture flying into an airport where the infrastructure built to handle your aircraft was still under construction. That was the lived reality for many early 707 travelers, strapped into a machine that had outpaced the world meant to support it, landing on runways that had only just barely been lengthened enough to receive it. Perhaps the strangest shift wasn't physical at all. It was emotional. In the propeller era, flight felt tethered to the real world. You sensed the weather. You felt the climb. Your body understood the journey happening around it, the way you understand a car ride or a boat crossing rough water. The jet erased that link entirely. Travel became sterile, mechanical, almost clinical. People were hurtling forward at speeds their senses couldn't process, sealed inside a cabin that muted every clue of motion. For travelers who'd grown up trusting their instincts in the air, that silence didn't feel like comfort. It felt like losing their grip on reality. Flying had gone from an experience you felt in your body to one you simply had to trust, blindly, in a machine you didn't understand. And still, that unsettling leap forward became the blueprint for everything Boeing built afterward. The 707's DNA lives on in the 727, 737, 747, and virtually every jetliner that followed it. Within less than a decade, the propeller airliner, once the undisputed king of the skies, had all but vanished from major commercial routes. The unease early passengers felt wasn't irrational. They were the first people in history to travel that fast, that quietly, that high above everything familiar. The Boeing 707 didn't just make flying quicker, it permanently changed what it felt like to leave solid ground behind, and arguably, it changed how humans experience distance and time itself. If this left you a little uneasy too, subscribe. Next time, we're diving into the early jet age incidents that nearly grounded this whole revolution before it could take off.